Daylight, my MVVs, welcome. Report reaching us allegedly is that the Ooni of Ife has also suspended Olori Mariam indefinitely from entering into his chambers. And they said the reason why he suspended Mariam from entering his chamber is because of the same fight between her, everyone, and Queen Naomi. Queen Naomi must not return into the palace. There must be no wedding. If there is any wedding, we are going to have an issue and all of that, the back and forth movement. And that is the reason you've heard about everything that has been going on. If everything that we have been hearing is to be true, that there's been this back and forth movement and the fight has been between Olori Miriam and Olori Runke, even though other ones are fighting, they're fighting from the background because their interest is to ensure that Queen Naomi does not return back into the palace. Now, it does seem as if the greatest undoing of the palace was announcing Queen Naomi's return day, and it does seem as if immediately they announced that the return date, it was like all hell was let loose. Everyone started fighting back and forth. She must not return to the palace. She doesn't need to be in the palace and all of that. And of course, we are no longer like not understanding where this is coming from. We understand because they are saying that it's coming from the place of, the fact that Naomi is Christian. She's been praying and she has, discernment. She can see and all of that. She sees everything that people do in the palace. She is a child of God. They say they are fighting her because she is a child of God. And that is the reason why they do not want her back into the palace of the Ooni of Ife. Now, following the Baskatas, as we are hearing allegedly, that is, of course, the news is making the rounds on social media all over the place that Olori, that the Ooni of Ife has suspended Olori Miriam from, accessing his chamber. We heard the other time that the suspension was for 30 days, but right now they say it's indefinite, like it's an indefinite suspension. We are not sure of when she will be able to access the chamber again. So what that means is that number two, God no julunto. And you know that women don't like that. And I think for those of us who sit back and think that the Oni is doing nothing about the situation, he is actually doing a whole lot. But of course, you do know that the Oni of Ife is very gentlemanly. He's not somebody who wants to go and be out there and be saying things. And besides, he is king, he's God. The power to make whatever decision he wants to make without, having to explain to anybody why he is making any decision. And so he does his things quietly. From what we are hearing, there is a suspension. We've been hearing also that there's been a lot of wailing in the palace. What kind of thing is this? I'm not going to continue to live like this. I never expected this. I expected more than this. This wasn't what I expected when I decided to come here, thinking that my life was going to take a turn for the better. And right now, this is what I am saying. What have I done wrong? I haven't done anything wrong. People just try to escalate things as it has to do with me. And I don't want this. I wanted to stay married and stay happily married. And right now, a lot of wailing, a lot of lamenting is what we are hearing that is going on inside the palace of the Ooni of Ife. It's important to, for me to always draw your attention to the fact that these are all alleged information. It's out there in the public domain, okay? And so bear that in mind, and also do not forget, after the time and time again, that whatever information you get on social media, you want to take it with a pinch of salt. Okay, so right now I am wondering myself, how can this be at a time where we heard allegedly that Aunty Igbi has done some very good things in the palace of the Ooni of Ife. We heard that she distributed 50 wheelchairs to disabled people and made it a point of duty to ensure that for the next 30 days, people across Ile Ife who are fasting, will go to designated areas areas where they have vendors to give them food to break their fast. And I think this might not necessarily be the best time to make this kind of decision, because when people are fasting like this, they need all the encouragement, they lose strength, and you want to be there, you want to encourage them. And maybe this just maybe might not have been the best time to give that suspension, but whatever it is, I want to believe that if everything we are hearing is to be true, the monarch has a very good reason and knows exactly what he is doing. But when it concerns the Oni of Ife, anything for Queen Naomi, anything to ensure that this happens, they said that the only thing that is important to me, to him, is to bring Tadenikawu back into the palace and ensure that Tadenikawu grows under his tutelage. We have heard of how the rulership of Ife land works. They have four ruling houses, and when it's time for them to make a king out of a ruling house, a lot of children from that ruling house will come out, and the kingmakers will make the best, as in will pick the best. During the time of Ooni of Ife, where Gusi house took the kingship, they said they had 47 princes that came out to try for this position. And 47 princes, that is not it's not a small thing. People from all walks of life across the globe, Odua descendants, coming. Now, imagine that situation from what we read, that, 47 princes had to come together to contest this position. And at the end of the day, it was Ooni of Ife that got it in 2015. So if the Ooni of Ife is doing everything that is within his power to bring his son back to the palace, just for the boy to grow under his tutelage as a young king, I think that he's doing something that is absolutely right. You know that this, at the end of the day, you need to make sure that the boy is prepared. And contrary to the belief that we used to have those days, when we hear about the Ooni of Ife and all of that, we used to think that because Ooni of Ife is the king, Tadenikawo must be the king. And so it's not like that in Ile Ife. As long as that child is from a ruling house, there is a likelihood that that child can become a king. And the fact that that child was born by a king does not necessarily mean that that child will become a king. What it means is that there are a lot of children, men who are from the same ruling house, have the capacity, or have the same equal opportunity to come out and contest the position. And anybody who qualifies. Like the Ooni of Ife did not contest alone. Even the older brother contested with him, but they eventually picked him because he was the best. And so you now understand why, if I feel like if Ooni of Ife wants Tadenikawo to return back to the palace, he is doing the very right thing, because as a king, there are a lot of things you want to teach your boy. There are a lot of rules, regulations, and tradition. Ooni is vested in tradition, and in Ile-Ife, these are very traditional people. Yoruba is rich in culture, in cultural heritage, and Yorubas are very traditional people. Yorubas are like the Edo people as well. These are very traditional people. And for you to become king of Ile-Ife, you must be vested in tradition. You must know and unknow the tradition very well. And Tadenikawo is not going to know all of these things by growing out there. He needs to come back to the palace, and so he can learn. And so, sometimes when you hear some of these things on social media, you want to even doubt if it is true, but some of these things really make a lot of sense. When I read that they had 47 princes that came out, to contest this position with the Ooni of Ife, I knew that, look, this thing is not as easy as it seems. It's a lot. 47 princes, a lot from the US, Canada, and all of that. Very, very educated people. The Yoruba people are very, very educated people as well. And so they have, exposed people and all of that. And that competition must have been very, very serious, like a very serious one. And at the end of the day, Ooni of Ife won. What does that tell you? It tells you that this guy is grounded in what he believes in, and is grounded mentally. And that was why they chose him at the end. So without digressing much, my thing is that If all he wants is for Queen Naomi to return back to the palace so he can have his son under his tutelage, I do not see why there should be these basketballs all over the place if all the information we keep getting happens to be true. I've told you time and time, I do not cease to repeat that these are all alleged information, okay? I don't know what you get from other people's channel, but from my own channel, it's important for you to understand that they are all alleged information. So for me, if this is all that the king wants, I feel like he's already married all of these women. And one thing I know and I love about the Ooni of Ife is that he respects his wife so much. He tells you how much he loves them. He tells you how they bring so many different colors to the table, and he tells you how they are educated. He is proud of the fact that he's got a fashionista, he's got a lawyer, he's got accountant, got all of these people together. Now, if he loves you guys, he's proud of you and all of that, why should you have this kind of problems with having Queen Naomi return back to the palace when you do know that Queen Naomi is the hen that laid the golden egg? Yes, so Tadenikawo, whether you like it or not, whether you troll me or not or whatever, Tadenikawo will always be the golden egg, because no matter what happens, that boy will remain the first son of the Ooni of Ife. He got this boy at the time where he wanted the boy most, and God bless Queen Naomi, the beautiful Queen Naomi, with this child. And this child, and again, for those of you who keep saying nothing is going to happen because you're God, you know the future, you know the beginning and the end, it's important for you to know that whether they come back together or not, Queen Naomi will remain special in the mind of the Ooni of Ife by virtue of the fact that Queen Naomi gave birth to that boy, Tadenikawo. The Ooni of Ife does not play with that boy. Oni wants the best for that boy. That Oni, like, you can joke with anything, but do not joke with Tadenikawo. So how many of you have forgotten that Tadenikawo came from that beautiful Olori Queen Naomi? For those of you who come back to tell me every time they laram, they will not come back together. Ile-Ife does not need Queen Naomi. Who is Queen Naomi? She's uneducated. You, how many school you go? You, where they challenge me, she's uneducated. How many school you go? You come out and you talk and you talk. Have you ever seen Ooni of Ife saying Queen Naomi didn't go to school? Ooni does not bring down his wife. Ooni, yes, we expect that he would not. But you who is coming back to say that, when did they return bride price? When did they return bride price? Do you know that a lot of us talk because of the fact that we are well aware that the bride price has not been returned, and Queen Naomi will not go anywhere until that bride price is returned, and Ooni stay move ahead, just as he said with Otiti Wurola. So I'm going to bring you more update. I appreciate you guys much. De la right, my de la right, my de la right, my. Thank you so much.